Lieutenant's log. I was set course for planet Romulan when my vessel was caught in what appeared to be an intergalactic magnetic storm, which marooned me on this unknown planet. I survived the crash unscathed, but this planet's temperature proved uncomfortable to be wearing my Federation attire, so I went sleeveless and began excavating this planet, looking for sustenance and hopeful communication. In my search, I found various relics. I took certain precautions when approaching these inanimate vessels and scanned them for radiation as well as other hazardous materials. These stone carvings aroused my curiosity and were a glimpse of optimistic hope in finding a sentient species indigenous to this planet. Thankfully, as I searched various items, I found no dangerous pathogens that would be of detriment to my personal health. As I continued searching this planet, I discovered more and more of these well-crafted stone carvings. It was evident that there is intelligent life on this planet. Fortunately, I was plenteous in rations, though I knew they would not last forever, so I went back out to excavate this planet's resources in the event that I would exhaust my supplies. After many failed attempts to identify this planet, I came across this establishment, and thankfully, through its archival records, I discovered this primitive planet is known as Earth. This discovery gave me an optimistic glimpse of hope, which motivated me to go back out and excavate this planet even further. When I scavenged the ground, I discovered this strange device. But what was it? Was this some sort of telecommunication device? It was a strange discovery, but I found this a grand opportunity to test if my molecular transporter had survived the crash. To my pleasure, the molecular transporter passed with flying colors and functions properly. As I further inspected this item, I discovered it was nothing more than a recreational device, a game, if you will. So I now continue this journal with a review. Welcome back to another episode of the Straight Edge Game Room, where we're going to be looking at Electronic Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, who was Tiger Electronics' main demographic? Children. Who was the main demographic for Star Trek The Next Generation? Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was mostly adults. I'm sure there were some kids that were into this, but I didn't know any. Star Trek The Next Generation is kind of a weird thing to make a Tiger Electronic out of, given the demographics. Though Tiger Electronics appealed mostly to children, this game, strangely enough, does feel like it's made for somebody that's older, because it's not a game that you can just pick up and play. If you don't have the instruction manual, you're not going to know what to do. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in the Enterprise stages. More on that later. Thankfully, I found this complete at a local video game store in Mesa, Arizona, which isn't too far from Phoenix, and it has the instruction manual enclosed. And without that, I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have been just stuck doing the same things, not figuring out why I wasn't advancing. The backdrop for this game is well done. It looks very nicely colored, and it's got the HUD at the bottom. It tells you your power and your speed, and how many lives with that Federation logo. Plus, it also keeps score. You start off with 2 innings playing as the Starship Enterprise, where you're dodging meteorites and you're shooting at Romulan aircraft, but you gotta use your weapons sparingly, otherwise you're gonna run out. Also in this stage, if you can't dodge the meteorites and you don't want to waste your weapon, you can also use your shield. But your shield kinda hinders you in a way. More on that later. Once you get through your innings as the Starship Enterprise, you land on planet Romulan and you play as Lieutenant Worf and shoot at the Romulans hiding behind the rocks. Once you've killed enough Romulans, you go back into the Starship Enterprise and start the process all over again.
Though I've gone through several innings, I haven't made it all the way to the end, but I get the idea.
So let's take a look at the unit itself. We've seen a number of Tiger electronics in the past, but this is actually one of the more complex in its control and its gameplay. This is not a normal directional pad. You do move left and right when you play as the Starship Enterprise and when you play as Lieutenant Worf, but you don't go up and down. Up is shield, and that's when you're playing as the Enterprise, and it gives you a limited invincibility, but you lose all mobility in that time that you're invincible. Transporter is for the levels you play as Lieutenant Worf, and Transporter is what starts those particular levels. Phaser is just your weapon, whether you're playing as the Enterprise or you're playing as Lieutenant Worf. Warp makes your spaceship go faster, and you do have to keep up a speed. You gotta maintain a certain speed and beat the level at a certain time to get to those levels where you play as Lieutenant Worf. Otherwise, once you get to the end of those levels, you will not start those Lieutenant Worf stages. And we've seen these buttons many times. I don't think I need to go over these if you watched my previous Tiger Electronic videos. It takes 2 AA batteries, as always. And I actually have the plastic shell that it came with. I bought this brand spanking new, which I devalued. But I try to take good care of the case. You see the template right there, which shows the gameplay. And it's got the monologue, the intro monologue from Star Trek The Next Generation. Got the manual, but I won't bother showing the whole thing. But yeah, that's as simple as I can explain this very complex game.
So is this game good? Is it bad? Overall, it's an okay game, but like I said earlier, it's not a game that you can just jump into and start playing right away. It's not self-explanatory. So if you find this complete for what I paid for, which was $15, I'd say yeah, go ahead and grab it. But if it's selling for like $60, no, don't pay that. You're just getting ripped off. If you find it in the wild without the case or the manual, I would recommend picking it up if the price is right, like $10 or less, and look for the instruction manual on a PDF online somewhere, or watch a video that explains how to play this game, like the one you're watching now. If you guys can't find a copy of the instruction manual online, who knows? I might just make a PDF of it and make it downloadable for those of you who bought this loose and incomplete. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys dropping in. Every view, every click counts, and I appreciate your time. If you got any requests for what I should review next, please leave your comments down below. Thanks again, and have a good night. After reviewing the recreational device, I found another sentient being on this planet. However, she would prove most inhospitable.
Would you get out of here? Just get out of here.